Hi, and welcome to the webinar. My name is Heidi Brislin, and I'm an Assistive Technology Specialist. And today we'll be talking about how to get Bookshare up and running in your district. So I have a survey here first. So let's see if you guys can just answer the poll there. How many of you are using Bookshare in your district? Okay, good. Looks like everybody's using it so far. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to be going back and forth from my desktop, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so I'm going to start with, what is Bookshare? If you're already using it, you probably know this already, but it's an amazing kind of online library, and I always tell my kids it's like going to the Seattle Public Library. You can get anything you want. I was exploring today, and there's like magazines and newspapers and all sorts of things. And there's a great video. We're going to go to the Bookshare website, and where it does a nice little explanation, so you can share that with staff. I'm going to be popping back and forth between my PowerPoint and the Bookshare website, because I think it's good to see kind of how to navigate through that to help other people with trainings and, problem solve. And they've really, in the last year, really done a lot of great things with their help center. So I'm going to share my desktop, and if you'll let me know if you see, it should say Bookshare resources and sharing. All right. So Katrina, can you see that? All right, so we're going to go, they've got this great promo video. I'm going to go ahead and play the video. You might want to turn your volume up.
Inside every book is a new world, and nothing should keep you from exploring. Whether you're learning to read, studying for an exam, or just having fun, Bookshare helps you read in ways that work for you. Choose your favorite high-quality voice and listen to your book. Stay focused with karaoke-style text highlights. Adjust text to your perfect size, speed, color, and contrast. Choose from over 500,000 titles ready to read on nearly any device. And the best part? It's free for U.S. students who qualify, and less than $1 a week for qualified adults. So start reading in ways that work for you and explore new worlds with Bookshare.
I don't know how I got to that notepad. Okay, now I've got to figure out how to get back here, so hold on. There we go. I've got something crazy going on my desktop. All right, so hold on, I have something, here we go. Something really bizarre happening on my desktop today. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. So just a little bit about who can join Bookshare. To join Bookshare, you have to have a qualifying print disability, and so this is someone who could be blind or have low vision, a physical disability, or a learning disability. Individuals must have a qualifying disability in one of those areas, and in our district, the building teams work with the assistive technology team to determine the eligibility, and kind of what we've been using for kids who are other than our kids who have blindness or low vision and physical disability, is we've been using Denise DeCoste's protocol for accommodations in reading. I suppose you could, if someone has a specific learning disability in reading, you could go and look at their testing results for their reading assessment and go ahead and qualify them that way. So many of the kids I'm looking at are like out of sequence for their testing, or they've just really feel like, you know, they've not been successful reading for so long that I love to do the PAR with them, because then I can show them, hey, look, with a text reader you can comprehend at grade level. And most of the kiddos I've been testing who have a specific learning disability in reading are, I'd say about 95% are comprehending at grade level when I use the text reading accommodation for them. So that's pretty huge for them. The thing I learned at Closing the Gap last year when I went to one of the Bookshare things is that students do not have to have a 504 or an IEP to qualify, just documentation of a print disability. So if you were to use something with some of like your gen ed kids as like a tier 1 or tier 2 intervention for some of those kids who are struggling but not quite enough to get a 504 or an IEP, and you could show that there's a discrepancy between what they can independently read and what they can read with text reading support, you could use that with some of your general education students. The thing to be aware of is that only IEP students have access to textbooks. So even your 504 students do not have access to textbooks. And sometimes that's really kind of a glitch when you've got someone that's probably ready to move to a 504 plan, but they really need that textbook support. So something kind of your district has to take on a case-by-case basis. Let's see. There are, over half, I didn't get all my zeros put in there. Over 500,000 books are available, and you get unlimited access to a lot of the Common Core materials, college prep, career, children's, young adults, you name it. There's a whole variety of print material available. Like I said, we talked about it's free to any United States student with a qualifying disability. Students with a non-students, so adults with a qualifying disability, pay $50 for an annual subscription, and there's a one-time setup for unlimited access to the Bookshare collection. So that's good to know as kids are transitioning out of school. All right, how do we get started? And so I'm kind of run through the whole process of kind of getting your district up and started. I'm going to tell you, when I took over as the organizational primary contact for our district, we had 6 or 7 different Bookshare accounts in the district, and we'll talk kind of about what I found that really works best, and we'll talk about this maybe a little bit more later, is you can either manage it school by school, or you can manage it with one primary contact and have one Bookshare account for your district. I find it's much easier to have like a primary contact and have one account for your district, and that way when kids move from buildings to buildings, you don't have to start over and recreate their Bookshare account. And so if you have someone moving from 5th grade to 6th grade to 6th grade, you don't have to get them a new Bookshare account in the middle school. It just kind of seamlessly stays with them. And so that's been really, really helpful. So you've got to decide who's going to be your primary contact. And so they're the ones just kind of managing the organizational membership. It doesn't mean you have to do everything, but they're the ones managing the membership. Then you can add the student members, and you want to be thoughtful about what you're using for logins and passwords, because they have to be unique for each student. So initially I'd put the student's first name and maybe part of their last name or something, and if it was something that a login that some other person had, I'd have to create things, so I might have had George 1. And so it got to be kind of a pain trying to remember what I did for everybody. So when we set up our organizational membership, where we had one Bookshare membership for the whole organization, we used the student number as their login, and then their uppercase first and last initial, and then their student number as well. So that's unique to every student. And that has worked really well for getting the kids set up for that and being able to quickly monitor and switch those things. And then teachers can be added as sponsors. And so that's kind of how you get started. And we are going to head on back to Bookshare. Okay, and so the place where you find everything when you get into Bookshare is at the Help Center. So we're going to go to Training and Resources here, and we're going to go to the Educators Get Started Guide. And here, this is a great tool. It kind of talks you through what you need to do, whether you choose an individual or an organizational membership, and we'll talk a little bit more about those. And then you have to decide who your primary contact is going to be, and you have to download an agreement for that. Next page over here is you set up your account. Then you can add members. And here's what kind of adding the new member looks like. You put their first name, last name, date of birth, what their current grade is, what your username is and your password is. I usually, if I'm adding kids, I don't add them to the quick list, but the quick list is like great for teachers to be able to quickly pull their students, your district, and then what school in the district. And then you have to mark over here what type of disability. Is it visual, learning, or physical? But you do not have to mark plans. So if you mark the user has an IEP, that definitely gets them access to all of the textbooks. And then you can mark whether they're 504 or not. And then you click the Save button, and they're kind of generated as a member there. And it'll give you the option to add them to reading lists, which we'll talk about a little bit later, or create a new reading list. And I always click Not Now. And then let's go back here. Okay, so again, talk about, in your district, you've got to decide what the best way to manage your account is. Some people really would rather do an account for each school, and some would really do one for each district. Like I said, I have found it so much easier now that we just have one for the district. Then let's talk about sponsors. So people who should be sponsors. And in our district, I have worked really, really hard with the teacher librarians to get all of our teacher librarians on as sponsors. Because if you think about where do kids and students access print material at school, they get their textbooks from the library, they get the novels they need to read for classes, they get their leisure books from the library. And so if you think of the person who makes sense to be managing and assigning and helping them with that, the teacher librarian really makes sense to do that. And one of my teacher librarians is like, I feel like I have finally been able to open the library doors to these kids who are struggling readers. The other group of people I sign up as sponsors kind of right away are all the special ed teachers. And then, a lot of times some of the occupational therapists, I've got one occupational therapist who loves literacy, and so she does a lot of assigning books to her kids based on their interests. They have a brand new librarian, so the librarian is trying to learn. The speech pathologist might be interested in using it as well. And then currently, I don't have any general education teachers, but you certainly could have some general education teachers that might want to be a sponsor as well. All right, so the students who qualify, who meet the qualifying criteria, you're going to sign them up for an organizational membership. And that means that this type of membership, every book has to be added by someone within the organization. So someone who is a Bookshare sponsor, and those can only be staff people. Again, like we talked about, ideally where I want them to be going is going to the library with their gen ed peers, seeing this book that they're interested in reading, going to the teacher librarian and saying, hey, I really want to read Wonder. Can you please get that on my Bookshare account? So we're little by little moving in that direction, but it's been pretty powerful, the buildings we've been able to get that going in. Access to books, like you probably know if you're using it 24/7, access to books, you can use it on any place where you have internet access, or you can also read it on tablets, so iPads, iPhones, Android tablets. The thing to know, and I get a lot of calls about, is people will try to access Bookshare through, we use iPads in our district, through Safari, and you cannot read the book through the browser on the tablet. You have to have an app. So that's one thing to be aware of, and we'll go through what some of those apps are here in a minute. That's where we're going to go next. So here's a few of them. So for Apple products, there's Capti Voice Narrator, which is free. There's Dolphin Easy Reader, which is free, and Voice Stream Reader, which is about $15. I am really liking Dolphin Easy Reader, probably out of the three of those, the best. The challenge I have with Dolphin Easy Reader is the students have to, and if any of you have a suggestion, that would be great. The students create a Dolphin account, and then it sends them an email, and they have to verify their account. So my secondary students can all receive outside emails, but my elementary students cannot. So I typically use Dolphin Easy Reader with my secondary students, and my primary students I'm using Voice Stream Reader with because I like it better than Capti. But those are some of the options. The Android apps, and full disclosure, I have not used Bookshare on an Android device, but Go Read is free, Dolphin Easy Reader is also free, and Voice Stream Reader is $10 there. And the link here will tell you how to, it talks about all the different ways to read on the Bookshare website. Okay, and we are going to go back to the Bookshare website here. So again, I'm going to go to my Help Center, I'm going to go to Training and Resources, and there's this wonderful section called How To. There's how-to videos and guides, and we are going to go to, let me find it. It is the students' How to Read. So there's a how to read guide, and it basically kind of talks the students through every step that they need to do. So they're going to log in, they're going to view their assigned books, they're going to select the reading list, and then once they open the reading list, they're going to select the book and then go over here and click on Read Now. And then if you're on a computer, the book will open up in the web reader, and it might take 30 to 60 seconds. It usually takes no more than 60 seconds. And then what comes up is all of the copyright information. Up here, you can see where you can have it speak, and then here are your settings that you can go into to change the voice and the volume and the speed. So then it talks to them about going to the table of contents, which is right here, and then they can get themselves started off at the first chapter and bypass all of the copyright information for the book. Again, to hear the book, you press the little speaking bubble, and for settings, you hit the wheel, and here's where you can change some of the features there. If you select My History, it takes you to the book that was the most recently downloaded for the student, and then they click Read Now and can start reading that. And then it goes through iBooks on a Mac computer. Scroll down a little bit more. And then how to read books on an iPad or iPhone. It has the steps for that for them. Looks like it's using Dolphin Easy Reader. And how to adjust the text, and so it's all right there. So a really great, resource when you're training a student or a family in how to use Bookshare. All right, reading lists. You can create either a specialized reading list for a grade level, a subject. You can subscribe to already created reading lists. And then you can, sometimes if there's like the books that don't, if there's a student who wants to read some books and they just don't make sense in any of my reading lists, I'll create a specific reading list for them. You get the option to keep your reading list to where only you can see it or to where you can share it with your organization. If the reading list that you're making like 8th grade novels, or Harry Potter, or Diary of a Wimpy Kid, I'd recommend like sharing those, and we'll show how you can subscribe to those here in just a second. Then other people don't have to recreate the reading list. It's just a really nice way to not recreate the wheel. Okay, and then let's go back here. And if you look over here, signing up and getting started, you've got assign books with reading lists, add a member and assign a book, subscribe or copy a reading list. So there's the directions for how to do all of that. And we'll watch, and some of them have videos, transcripts, so you can have it easily read, a PDF or Word document. So we will watch this little video on
This tutorial will demonstrate how to use Bookshare's Reading List feature to save and organize titles and share those titles with students. Reading List lets you save and organize book titles in one easy-to-access location. You can organize titles by grade, class, student, topic, author, or any way you like. Sponsors on organizational accounts can share lists with their student members who can read assigned titles independently. To start, go to www.bookshare.org and log into your account. Select the My Bookshare link and then select the My Reading List link. Here you can manage your reading lists or create a new one. To create a new reading list, select the Create Reading List button. Assign a name to your new reading list and, if you wish, include a description. Next, add books to your reading list by searching or browsing for books. When you find a title you want to add, select the Add to Reading List link and select the reading list to which you want to add it. You can now access your reading lists and save titles anytime you are logged into Bookshare. Sponsors on organizational accounts can also share reading lists with students. This will help students build independence and let them access and read books on their own. To share, open a reading list and select the Members link. Then select the Add Members button to see your student list and select the students with whom you want to share the reading list. Then select the Add Selected Members button. Your reading list has now been shared. To learn more about other Bookshare topics, visit the Bookshare website, the Bookshare channel on
Okay, so that's how that works. And I love like all of their videos and written materials. They make it so easy. Here we've got searching and requesting books. So let's go back to Bookshare here. Let me find that. Okay, here we go.
This tutorial will demonstrate how to find and request books from the Bookshare website. To start, go to www.bookshare.org and log into your account. There are two ways to find books: searching for specific books and browsing. To conduct a standard search, go to the search box located at the top of any page. You can search by title, author, ISBN, and select Search. To conduct a filtered search, select the Advanced Search link next to the Browse link. On this page, you can search specifically by title, author, ISBN, publisher, or you can enter specific phrases in the full text field. You can enter information in 1, 2, 3, or all of these fields, and Bookshare will only search within these parameters for a more narrow search. You can further narrow your search with 50 additional categories, such as cooking, food, and wine, mystery and thrillers, teens, mathematics and statistics, language arts, social studies, and many more. Note that you can also search for titles in Bookshare and partner collections, including the Internet Archive, by selecting your preference in the Collection to Search field. When you have completed entering your criteria, select the Advanced Search button to view your search results. The other way to find books is to browse the Bookshare collection. Select the Browse link under the standard search bar. This will take you to a list of categories that you can browse, such as author, category, languages, new books, most popular downloads, NIMAC books, and more. When you select any of these categories, you will see a list of subcategories or books. You can then select a specific book to learn more or download it. We encourage you to explore all of these categories and experience the breadth of Bookshare's large collection. If you do not find the book you want, you can request that it be added to the collection. Go to the Getting Started drop-down menu and select the How to Find Books link. Next, select Request to Add New Books link. Please provide as much information as you can to help with processing and faster turnaround. The ISBN is particularly helpful. If you are an educator who works with qualified student members with IEPS, you may request that books be added from the National Instructional Materials Access Center, or NIMAC. If you know that a textbook is available in the NIMAC, please provide that information in your request. More information about NIMAC books is available under the Learn More heading on the How to Find Books page. Bookshare tries to process all student and teacher book requests. However, please understand that in some circumstances, the requested material may not be available or suitable for scanning. The Bookshare team will reply to your email within 3 business days with the status of your request. You can also track the status of your book request. To do this, log into your Bookshare account, select the My Bookshare link, then My Request link. To learn more about other Bookshare topics, visit the Bookshare website, the Bookshare channel on YouTube, Bookshare on Facebook, Bookshare on Twitter, and Bookshare on Pinterest.
Okay, so lots of ways to...
If you color your hair, regular shampoo.
Lots of ways to find books. I do want to tell you that... Oh, shoot. Sorry about that. Bookshare has amazing customer service. There have been a couple times where I've had to request a book, and if they don't have the book, they'll buy the book, they'll cut it up, they'll scan it, they'll send you a non-cleaned up version first, and then they'll let you know when the cleaned up version is available, the final version is available. If I do a help request, like I'm trying to figure out how to do something and I haven't done it before, they will get back to me that day usually, or if I'm having some technical problems, like it's an app I haven't used before and I've looked at the sheet and I still can't quite figure it out, they will get right back to you. So very, very responsive customer service. The one thing while I have you here I want you to look at, I'm going to take you to the Browse button. And the Browse button has changed a little bit since the little video that they showed there. So it has popular collections, so you can click on there and see what some of those are to help kind of guide putting your reading list together. You can click on things for kids, for teens, award-winning one. And we'll kind of scroll down here. So they've got the kids collections, they've got teen collections. But one thing that is really helpful is they have this teacher one. So if your school district is using like Lexile levels, I know several of our schools are using like Read 180 and are looking for like Lexile levels to assign books to students. And so you can click on there, and then it has a whole list of all the books that are in the different Lexile levels. So let's say if we click here, you know, here are all the ones in that 600 Lexile level that are available. And so pretty easily you can make a reading list with all of those. So just a really great resource. And then as you're here, you know, there are the adult books, the award-winning books, general resources, disability resources, books in Spanish. And then you can browse in newspapers, magazines, you can browse by language. So just some really nice ways to kind of be able to find books. I know as a non-teacher librarian, it's really hard for me sometimes to kind of come up with ideas for books that are like age appropriate and grade appropriate. So this is a great resource. Okay, what is an individual membership? So an individual membership, when you go to sign the students up, it'll give you the choice of signing them up or signing them up and sending for an individual membership. And we'll go to the video here on this in a minute. But the parents can choose to add an individual membership for their child. It's great because the families, this kind of takes some of the load off of the school staff. Is often they can just request, they can go and look up the books and add the books that they want, except for textbooks. Textbooks can only be added by a school sponsor. I always tell my families before I send them the little email for the individual membership is that, you know, they need to, this is just like going to any public library. So the kid, your child can get anything. There's adult content stuff there. So you need to just monitor it just like you'd monitor books that they're checking out of the library. Once the student has an organizational account, it is linked to, their individual account will be linked to their organizational account. So the only thing that when they do get an individual account, their username and password changes. The only time you really need to know this is if you're getting them set, if they're reading on the computer and they can't remember their username and password, you'll need that. And the other time is when you're setting up the app for the first time on the iPad, you need the username and password. So I always tell families, make sure you don't make it the password that's to all your banking stuff, because you will have to probably share it with somebody at school at some point. And again, the individual memberships are free. So very cool. It's supported by the U.S. Department of Education and the Office of Special Education, so great resource. And I'm going to share my desktop, and we will find the video here that talks about individual memberships. So how-to video, guys.
This tutorial will address how to get an individual membership with Bookshare. This process consists of 3 easy steps. Step 1. Create an account. Go to Bookshare.org and select the Sign Up link. Then
So I'm going to take us back to Bookshare because that was not the one that I wanted. So Help Center, Training and Resources. Here we go.
This tutorial will demonstrate how to get individual memberships for students who are already on an organizational account, as well as how to link existing individual memberships with an organizational account. We encourage sponsors to get individual memberships for all qualified students. These help students build independence by allowing them to find and access books on their own from the full Bookshare catalog. They also allow them to use the reading tool of their choice. And individual memberships are free for all qualified U.S. students through support of the U.S. Department of Education, Office of Special Education Programs. For students under 18 years old, a parent or guardian's permission is required. Proof of disability does not need to be submitted for students already on an organizational account. To start, go to www.bookshare.org and log into your account. Select the Add or Update Members link on the My Bookshare page. To initiate an individual membership for a student when you first add him or her to your organizational account, select the Add a Member button at the bottom of your roster and complete the requested student information. Select the button at the bottom of the dialog box that says Save and Add Individual Membership. For more information about adding new members, please view the Learn It Now tutorial, How Do I Sign Up My School, and the How-To Guide on Adding Sponsors and Memberships. Under Option 1, Request a New Individual Membership, you can either send an email to the member or a parent or guardian with a link for completing an online form, or download and print a form with instructions on how to sign up and provide them to the member or parent or guardian. For faster processing, select the email option. Either way, the member or parent or guardian will then complete the individual membership sign-up process online and read and accept the terms and conditions online. To initiate an individual membership for a student who is already on your organizational account, select the last name of the student from your member roster and select the Add Individual Membership button. From there, you will complete the same process previously described. Note that you can initiate individual memberships for several members all at once. Simply check the boxes next to their names. Select the Add Individual Membership button below your roster and follow the steps mentioned previously. For a student who already has an individual membership but is not connected to your organizational account, you can request to formally link accounts so that student can take advantage of features such as shared reading lists. Begin by adding the student to your roster if he or she is not already there. After selecting the Save and Add Individual Membership button, use Option 2, Add Existing Individual Membership to Organization, and provide the email address associated with the member's individual membership. You will also need to indicate that you have permission to connect these two accounts. Then select Submit Request. This will send a request to the Bookshare membership team to connect the individual membership to your organizational account. You will receive confirmation of this change from Bookshare. To learn more about other Bookshare topics,
my team and I always had trouble managing our tasks. So one of my colleagues found Monday.com.
My computer is possessed today. All right, so I'm going to share a little story about how Bookshare changes lives. It truly does. I have a young woman, she's a 7th grader now, but when she was in 5th grade, she was on my OT caseload. Her name is Sasha, and every single therapy session, Sasha would come in and she would tell me, she was reading about the 2nd grade reading level. Spelling was really, really difficult, so writing was very hard for her. And she would come in and tell me when, she'd be like, Mrs. Brislin, when we moved when I was in kindergarten, we moved to England, and I was expected to already know all my letter names and all my letter sounds, and I didn't get that instruction, and so that's why reading and writing are hard for me. So she really, really, that was her story. Her story is like, it's like, I know I'm smart, and there's a reason that I can't read and write, and here's the reason. And probably after about 6 weeks of hearing her story, I was learning how to use the protocol for accommodations in reading, and decided that she'd be a good guinea pig to kind of learn from. And she's pretty receptive to things and easy to work with. And so this is her in May. So we started using Bookshare in December, and this is her in May presenting at a school board meeting about how Bookshare has changed for her. So I'm hoping you might have to really turn your volume up for her because she's pretty quiet. But it's pretty remarkable.
I could not read very well and was not interested in many things. I was having to stop every couple of words because either I did not know what the word was, or I had to stop and see what the letter was, because I got D's mixed up with B's and P's mixed up with N's. The word would float around the page. I started to work with my OT, Mrs. Burson. We did some testing and found out I could understand books at the 7th grade reading level. When I used my iPad to help me, this qualified me for Bookshare, which allows me to read any copyrighted or branded books using a tablet or computer. I have a tablet at home. I am reading on the banks of Plum Creek. I love reading now. I have read lots of books, including Aragon, Eldest, Virginia, Inheritance, Walk to the Moons, Wonder, and Out of My Mind. These are only a few books I have read. I have read so much that my mom has set some limits for me. Because I would stay up too late.
That's great, thank you.
So that last part is her saying, I read so much that my mom has had to set up some rules around reading because I stay up too late reading. So I was she also typed her speech in co-writer. I was so proud of her. This is a lot for a 5th grader to get up and speak at a school board meeting. She went from before winter break, like 50% towards achieving her AR reading goal, to by spring break she had exceeded it by 600%. And at the end of 5th grade, her STAR reading scores were now at grade level. So today, as a 7th grader, when I catch her in the hallway, because she totally manages all of her assistive technology without any help, she'll tell me, are you still using Bookshare? And she's like, well, I don't need to use it all the time because I can read most of what I want to read. But if what I need to read is really complicated, I need to be reading it on Bookshare. So did you notice her story about not learning the letters and the letter sounds is no longer part of her story of who she is. She's a young woman who loves reading. So Bookshare is free and it can change lives, and I just really encourage you to take things back to your buildings, try to set up the most efficient way to kind of run it in your district, and if you can get your teacher librarians on board, you'll see things happening. So that is everything. I'm going to stop recording, and if people have questions, I am